Namaste and a very warm welcome to our very first edition after the sixth edition of SABERA that was very successfully concluded at the Teen Murti on 7th of December 2023. We have had such amazing work which was acknowledged, and as part of this series of Simply Suparna with Impact Leaders, we are, as you know, focusing on SABERA awardees, and we have our very first guest here today that has been acknowledged at the Teen Murti this year. And before I formally welcome her here with me to interact, I'd like to start by paying my obeisance to the higher power that is giving me the Shakti to do what I'm doing. This is an old Sanskrit verse. It is a Saraswati Vandana. It talks about dispelling the darkness of ignorance that resides in our hearts with the wisdom of knowledge. Ya kundendu tusharahara dhavala, ya shubhra vastravrita, ya veena varadanda manditakara, ya shweta padamasana, ya brahmachitta shankar prabhutibhi, devai sada vandita, samam patu saraswati, bhagavati nishesh, jadyapaha. So, like I said, this is our very first interaction of the SABERA awardee, one of the SABERA awardees of the sixth edition that was concluded on 7th December. And this is a very unique concept that got acknowledged by the SABERA jury. It's an amalgamation of technology and education and actually the upliftment of the most marginalized in the country. So while it kind of, warms my heart to see the kind of work which is happening across India, but it is equally important to ensure that that work, whether it is in terms of technology, whether it is in terms of sophistication of equipment, it should actually reach the furthest most parts of the country. And Evidyaloka Trust, that was acknowledged through SABERA 2023, is doing something like that. It is actually utilizing technology, and it is, getting that or a need. It's fulfilling the need of the student in the most far-flung area of the country and equipping that student to be able to get the kind of education that anyone can get across the world, the best kind of education. And to know a little bit more about this particular model, I have with me the CEO of Evidyaloka Trust, Brinda, PoornPragna, who also had the good fortune of interacting with at the SABERA Awards. Thank you so much, Brinda, for taking out time for being here with us and talking to us about the work that you are doing with Evidyaloka Trust.
Thank you. Thank you, Suparna. I'm delighted. Thank you really from me and all of us at Evidyaloka. We're honored. I
So
am
before I
representing the org.
actually getting on with our conversation on this very unique concept that you have managed to crack as a trust, I want to first get a first-hand experience of your representation at the Teen Murti through the SABERA Awards. What is it that you took back with you? What is that one thing that you think that is unique about SABERA?
All right. Thank you. Really, it was a very wonderful, motivating evening. I was delighted to be there. There are a whole lot of organizations, individuals who are so motivated and they're doing such good work. It made me resolve more to do more and more to what we are entrenching as a vision of the organization. So, thank you really for putting us all together and allowing us to really interact with each other and get motivated, share best practices, and just so much improve our own resolve of making this world a better place. So that's essentially my key takeaway. And thank you. It was a great evening.
And yeah, we focused this time specifically on technology. We focused on inclusive development, leveraging technology so that it reaches the last mile and to the most marginalized or the remotest part of the country. And I think you at the helm of eVidya are doing, your bit in terms of that marriage of technology and the development of the country. And it's a very unique model, and I want to hear it from you, because people think that education and putting technology in terms of digital education, because that's what COVID kind of taught us, that's the end all of it. Whereas I know, after having an interaction with you and after getting to know more about eVidya, there is so much more than just online education. Because uh, as I see today, kids, even in tier one cities, they're not just relying on education from what they get in school. It's become literally, I don't know whether it's good or bad, but it's become a kind of a mandate that they have to have that support. They have to have that tuition, whether those are weekend classes, whether there are classes after school hours, or whatever it is, for them to be equipped enough to be able to crack examinations ahead, to be able to get a kind of a streamline into the focus area that they like to go. Because when you're younger, your exposure is limited, and you really don't know that there are so many things that can be achieved and can be done. And unless there is that wise guiding hand that can lead you down that path, it could be a missed opportunity to a very bright student. So first of all, what is it that eVidya does?
Thank you, Yuri, for asking this question. I'm happy and excited to share the info. Evidyaloka brings together the passion of volunteers and technology to teach the students in the remote and rural areas. That's one line explanation. What this typically means is we are present in about 14 states, in about 78 districts, in the most remote of villages. What we do to the children of these schools is to bring together the passion of teaching, which the volunteers carry, put it together and have a connecting medium like a Google Meet, Skype, etc., and make the volunteer teaching be available to these children who we believe can be benefited by this kind of a quality teaching. We primarily started the organization with two premises slash solving, wanting to solve um, teacher shortage and quality of teaching. By us working with and taking advantage really of the goodness of all these volunteers, we dial in live and teach the children live in one of the models, which is the in-school model. So as a premise to this, we work with the donors, create a smart classroom, make ready all the infra which is required for the students to be ready to listen in. On the other hand, we work with the school, we work with the education department, take all the approvals, and we have a timetable ready where we know what the children want. And on the other hand, we work with the volunteers, marry the volunteer expertise that we have to the learning which the children need, and then the teaching learning happens. So, and then a magic is created. We teach in about, and like the way I said, 14 states. We teach about a lakh and a half children every year, 622 schools across these 14 states, and we teach between grade 5 and 10, and we teach science, maths, English as a scholastic teaching. When this happens, children just flower. They just not learn science, maths, English. We make them be a lot more confident. We make them a lot more responsible and enjoy the learning as they work with eVidyaloka. So that's the joy. So
So
in short,
there's a
volunteering,
lot of
technology.
information that you've shared, and I want to actually understand it and connect the dots. Because my very first question that springs to my mind is that if there is a school, if the government has provided a school, it has provided an infrastructure, it has the teachers on roll, and it has students that attend it, where is the need gap?
All right. Okay. So, yes, there are schools. The schools can be very, very rural, very remote. With that said, the number of teachers may be very less. And that's where the intervention like eVidyaloka will come in most effective. We choose the schools where there are less teachers, which also means that there needs to be an improvement in the quality of learning which the children are so entitled to, right? And when we choose a school like that, and we have children who are really ready to learn from an intervention like Evidyaloka, that's when we choose the school. All schools do not have infrastructure like the way I just discussed. We may have very, very remote schools with basically zero infrastructure. And then, how do we help those children? How do we help those schools? How do we give back to the community? That's when an intervention starts. That's where the need assessment commences. That's where we work.
So when you say very basic minimal infrastructure, what is it that you're referring to?
Uh, Almost nothing.
Just the
There
four
will be
walls.
a school, which probably, yeah,
Okay. And what does when
and
eVidya adopts a school like this, what is it that you bring to the table?
Ex- all right. So when we adopt a school, when we decide to work with the school, after all the approvals that we take from the relevant authorities, we create what we call as a digitally enabled classroom. What that means is really we put together a large TV, a computer, um, speakers, webcam, etc., to make it completely enabling for the children to learn through an online education. So, which essentially means that there is an infra which is ready for the children to use. And then what happens? We want teachers to teach these children, and then we work with the volunteers. That's where the volunteers, the role of volunteers is so important. We match the requirement at the school to the volunteers that who have signed up with us, and then the learning, teaching happens. Suparna.
Now, this is really amazing. While I have and SABERA have kind of recognized other institutions also that are, this whole thing about digitally smart classrooms, which is happening, uh, especially with respect to government schools. Now, I see a lot of people doing that, a lot of organizations doing that, right? But what the important aspect is not just to create them or equip them with that digitally smart infrastructure, but also to ensure, because ultimately it's knowledge that you want to provide to the child and make sure that the child is benefiting from that. Um, how is it that eVidya is ensuring, and the fact that you are completely volunteer based, now that is something extremely impressive to me personally, because even while running SABERA, there are a lot of people who like to come and volunteer, and there could be volunteers just for maybe the day of the event or the jury and things like that. But to actually have a volunteer stick through the entire life cycle of a child, and do you have an embargo on, because it can be extremely unsettling for the child not to have the same teacher with them, so how do you ensure that from a volunteer, purely volunteer based model, considering that our conversation revealed that you're not really enticing them, if allowed to use the word, with monetary benefits, but it is more from a fulfillment aspect and the kind of experience that you've had with this voluntary based this thing. So two questions really. First, of course, about the fact that how is it that you ensure that there is a learning which is happening for the child beyond just providing the infrastructure, and b, how is it that you run this volunteer based model?
All right. Okay. I'll take the second question first because I'm so happy to talk about volunteering and the goodness which it brings to us, right? Every year, when we start an academic year, and kind of we've been doing this since 2011, we have a particular volunteer base that we have created, volunteers who like to teach year on year. So that's one. Two, what this means is the kind of volunteers who work with us, they are knowledgeable, they understand the commitment that is required for them to support an organization like Evidyaloka, and they are skilled. Three, when we have our own teacher selection discussions, when we onboard a volunteer, we make sure that we impress upon them the importance of engaging with us for a particular amount of time. Four, with all this said, we give them sufficient content slash help which is required for them to teach. 5, we help them slash train them as required. We are also there until we onboard and the volunteer teachers are comfortable teaching these children. So that the volunteers are ready. With all this said, and you very clearly indicated that we are not paying slash there is no monetary benefit for these volunteers. What do? Is to be very, very engaging with them.
Okay.
Engaging from our end would mean recognizing the work that the volunteers do to our children. So there are a constant set of award slash motivation in the criteria of how we recognize each of these milestones that the volunteers do and share with our children. That's one. Two, we make sure that we hear what our volunteers want to tell us. So there are engaging platforms wherein we are more committed to them as a community, wherein we listen from them. We hear what they have to say and we incorporate that into our program. Three, we celebrate, and that's a big thing for us, Teachers Day, International Volunteers Day. And we have a huge VCA section in our annual event called Rubaru, wherein we invite volunteers to come to Bangalore and take away the awards from us. So, do we cherish, celebrate volunteering and volunteers? The answer is yes. Are we excited to hear from them? The answer is yes. Do we sufficiently help them get on board and be with us? The answer is yes. With all this said, in a particular year, I see a disengagement rate of about 25 to 30%, Suparna, which means that most of the remaining percent of them stays with me for the whole year. So a child need not have to see a new face every day or every month. That is very important, and we're very cognizant of that. We work with a lot of individuals who come to us to volunteer. They can be homemakers, they can be retired service personnel, they can be students, etc. We also work with corporate employees who work with us at an extended period of time. They understand the need, they know what the premise is. As long as we engage them in a particular way, sometimes we even do monthly webinars, Suparna. So we equip them with the skills that is required for them to teach and be more effective. It's a very, very engaging conversations and work that we do with the volunteers. So I think it's win-win, and that's reflected in what we've done over the years. We have about close to maybe shorter than 20,000 active volunteering base with us, and they help us teach our children. So I'm very cognizant, very thankful, highly appreciative of what the volunteers do to us and to our children. So that's the second question answered. The first question, what do we teach our children? How do the children flower? We teach them through primarily scholastics. We teach them science, maths, English. We teach between grade 5 and 10. And that is done during the school hours. Essentially, the volunteers would have to adjust their own timetable really to dial in into where the necessity is. Apart that, we also want to encourage them with a whole lot of co-scholastic activities that we do with them. It can be innovation, it can be competitions that we allow them to support and work for us in terms of getting them the exposure that is required for them to flower up. Three, we ensure that we have regular parent teacher meetings. We impress upon them the importance of continuing the education, right? So, in some of the metrics that we measure ourselves on, of course, the baseline in line and the learning which the child has got is important. The attendance is so important. An empowered, engaged child comes to school every day. Three, we don't see dropouts. We see engagement in terms of more additional students come and join the classes where Evidyaloka is a part of, correct? And we also see a very empowered, engaged parents who come to us and listen to what our volunteers have to say. So, and of course, the most important, we also make sure that we work with the HMs and the teachers who in the particular school that we are a part of. So we're very inclusive. We make sure that everyone is engaged in this process of us teaching a child. So that is where the empowerment comes. That is where the opportunities that we give to the child comes. And that's where we are very thankful for what we do and we enjoy the process. So so that's the answer to the first question.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from you essentially is that even though it's a volunteer-based program, that has actually become a highlight for you because here the people who are actually involved are very passionate about what they're doing. And B, you keep them engaged and actively so that they are part of the system and they're evolving, as the child is is. And I can see some people sending in comments, really good benefit to the students. Says Shripati K. Lalita Rajaput had sent you a heart earlier, which we showed as well. So uh, now the other thing is that you say that only 20 to 30%, there is a disengagement with the volunteer, and that is not something which is it's avoidable. It's something that even for the child it can be extremely unsettling to not. So you have a pre-screening process through which you're trying to get that even this 20 to 30% disengagement coming down, though of course there could be personal exigencies and all which you can't really know about, right? And now this
Yes.
also gets me to the next question. If there is someone, or there are already trusts or nonprofits who are actually doing something like this, what has been your biggest learning to make this model a success so that other people who are wanting to be on this path, they can kind of benefit from your experience?
Right. Okay. So you rightly mentioned, Suparna, that the success of Evidyaloka has been the live teaching that we give to these children. While the gadgets are there, the content can be created, it can be given to these children, but the interaction with these volunteers and the freshness and the motivation which these volunteers bring to the children is immeasurable. I think that is the key differentiator, I think, which Evidyaloka can really be proud about. So the goodness, motivation, and the live teaching is a key differentiator. That's one. Two, in the whole effort of being consistent, right? So we just make sure that there is a particular timetable that we work with every school that we are a part of. It just doesn't happen by design in terms of just being available whenever we are free. There is a particular timetable that all of us are abiding with. The whole framework of Evidyaloka can be as systematic as it is done as a part of a regular streamlined school. We are no different. So, three, we have LMS, we call it as Jupiter, which helps us track how all this is done. Which school is which school? We have names of all the schools, we have names of all the students, we have names of all the volunteers. So, at any particular point in time, on a daily basis, I can see as a dashboard how many classes happened on a particular day, which of the volunteers took the class, which of the volunteers did not take the class, was there any offline session, everything that we need to do and run as a particular successful school, that is available with us. So the volunteers, the tracking, and the discipline that we have within Evidyaloka, I think is a secret sauce to make the organization run and work so well all these years.
So the baseline for this, or the pivot on which it is all handled, is your um, what you refer to as LMS, which is Learning Management System, is the
Correct.
technology
This is called,
you actually utilize. So can
yes.
you tell me a little bit about this particular learning management system, what the evolution was, how this actually came about, and what exactly is it?
Right. Right. Okay. So this was founded by, of course, Evidyaloka 2011 comments Venkat and Satish, the two founders. Venkat is a techie. So we wanted to solve really what technology can do along with volunteering to help educate the children of this country. So that's how the thought process started. So this Jupiter is a tribute, really, or a legacy which Venkat has given to Evidyaloka. It has evolved over time. It states like the way you rightly mentioned, the whole learning exposure from onboarding to all the exits that we need to do from an academic year perspective. The journey of a child is mapped. It was inbuilt. It is an IP of Evidyaloka. We have worked with various partners to build it up. With all that said, what is not tracked doesn't get noticed and doesn't get improved very well. So my LMS is the key to where and how we track, and the volunteers help teach the children. So that's a bit about Jupiter. That's about volunteering, and that's about how we do what we do.
Okay, and now if I were to kind of open the forum and say that okay, there are more people, there are people who'd like to volunteer, there are people who'd like to associate with you. What are your different stakeholders, and what are the means of association that keep looking at?
Excellent. I can only say, Suparna, join the movement because that's what we are. It's a movement of educating every child in this country, agnostic, right? So, with that said, the call to volunteering. Anybody who really wants to teach a child, you're most welcome. Please write to us, talk to someone at evidyaloka.org, and I can kind of pass it on, right? So, please do that. Be and work with these children, teach these children, be the volunteers. Two, any of the donors trust, anybody who wants to empower children, please work with me. Let's set up schools together. Let's enjoy the process of enabling a child and educating a child and really empowering a child. That is what is needed. The call to action would typically be for us to support us in our funding and to work with us as volunteers. And to all the partners or to anybody who wants to really enable Evidyaloka. More Evidyalokas, the better it is for this country. Uh,
Right.
so, so I'll be happy for anyone to join us in this
Okay.
mission.
So we're going to be posting a link where you can get in touch with Evidyaloka, or you can get in touch with Brinda and explore opportunities. I see a lot of hearts coming in. Nagaratna also sent you a heart. Lalita, of course, earlier also sent a heart. So obviously you're doing something which is worthwhile and touching people's hearts, that they're actually sharing these hearts right now. So thank you so much, Brinda. And just as a final, closing to this interaction, I would want to understand from you as an individual, as the CEO of Evidyaloka, what is it that drives you to do? Because you also have had a very successful stint as far as the corporate world is concerned. So how is it that, and I'm sure, getting into the development field, it's no comparison to the corporate world in terms of both monetary benefits as well as perks, etc. So what is it that people like you, that drives you to do what you do?
All right. My firm belief, Suparna, and thank you for asking this, education is not a preparation to life, but life itself, right? I firmly believe in that. And at a particular point in time in my corporate career, I wanted to do good. The call to educate more children, essentially, and to be useful in the sense of education and what it meant to me, it drove me to take a sabbatical. I'm being very honest here. And I went and stayed in the Himalayas for many months. I became a volunteer teacher myself and wanted to enjoy what it means, the pleasure and the bliss it gives me to kind of get away from it all. When that happened, I knew I was a transformed person. So, and I said, yes, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And then Evidyaloka happened, and here I am having this conversation with having about 4+ years of completely fantastic journey with Evidyaloka and teaching the children. All of us here, in fact, at Evidyaloka always want to see a child smile. Everything that we do during the day is to make sure that another child, another village, another community is empowered, and that goes with me. And I speak on behalf of the team. It's a very empowered team that I lead here, and so every day is a joy. Of course, we all have our days of ups and downs, but we know what we are working towards. So that's one statement.
I have such a strong opinion about this, also ratified by my personal experience. I feel that spirituality and leadership can, really transform the world. both of it going together
Yes,
hand in hand. And the more I get to know of people who are doing good work, and if you scratch a little, I get to know that there is, a driving force. Now, whatever that driving force it is, I would like to call it Shakti. Somebody calls it spirituality. Somebody calls it, something purpose driven or fulfillment and all of that. But there is that driving force that makes you take that very first step, and then obviously the avenues keep opening up. And that's my take on anybody who wants to do whatever they want to do in their chosen field. It's about taking that first step, and everything else just kind of falls into place. Not that
agree.
it's easy going, of course not, but I guess, what keeps you going, Brinda?
Completely agree with you. The passion to do good, the passion to make sure that as long as we are there as Evidyaloka, that no child really should go uneducated. We're completely there on the cause, on the vision, and make sure that it's all about transforming our vision into what we call as an executional plan, which then gets into impact, right? So for me, it's the drive. So I believe a lot in Swami Vivekananda, and it's that anybody can do anything, right, as long as the intent is good. So for me, it's that conversion of what he said to what we want to do and drive as an organization to the impact that we want to see. I think it's the whole purpose that we are there for, and I stand here as the CEO of an org who wants to do that, and I'm super happy about us.
Thank you so much, Brinda, for taking out time, and thank you for what you're doing. Thank you, eVidya, for what they are doing, and thank you to the founders of eVidya for founding an organization like this. And I hope that we, as a platform, can connect you. And here you go, more hearts coming in your way. Brinda Rao is also sending you a heart. So obviously there is
Oh,
some good.
nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
we're going to be posting the link in terms of how one can be associated with eVidyaloka, either as a volunteer or if it's a corporate organization, if you'd like to support or adopt a school. Um, it's a verified, ratified non-profit. It has been acknowledged by the SABERA esteemed jury. So go ahead and connect. That is our main purpose. And there are
Thank
some,
you.
I guess, more hearts coming in. Let me just share those with you. There is Muttu who sent you a heart. There is also Lalita Rajput who sent you another heart. Thank you so much, Brinda, and wish you the
Thank
best.
you. Thank you. Thank you so much.